Welcome everyone. It's been a while since I've done a gear review video, so I thought today we'd do a comparison between two great classic basses, the Thunderbird and the Rickenbacker. I have here Gibson Thunderbird 2013 and over there a 2019 Rickenbacker 4003 in the walnut version, so that's 4003 W version. Both of them are of course the modern version of very classic bass guitars. They are both designed in the late 50s, early 60s. So they have historically been alternative to Fender, both in terms of style and in terms of tones. So they have very identifiable style and tone that has been used and that has attracted the attention of many famous and successful bass players. So for example, Paul McCartney of the Beatles famously used a Rickenbacker, so did Lemmy. The late Pete Way is very renowned for using a Thunderbird, so is Nicky Sixx. Geddy Lee and Twistle also played, both of them at different points in their career, and in fact Lemmy also used Thunderbirds at different points. So these two instruments are similar and very different in other ways, but they've all been traditionally used in rock music. They are well suited, very well suited in fact, to hard rock as well, but I would stop at that, and I would say, for me anyway, these are not bass guitars that are good for metal as opposed to hard rock. So the sort of heavier sound with like maybe two rhythm guitars, and maybe they're down-tuned and they're playing with a lot of bass and in their tone, so there's not a lot of space on the spectrum. When you're in a situation like that, I would always recommend going for an active bass, probably a Spectre or a GNL, even if you want to have the ability to switch between passive and active depending on the song you're playing. The Rickenbacker has a very punchy sound, very trebly, can cut through very well in some settings, but it actually lacks bass, so it lacks a little bit of dimension for a big mix, for a modern sounding metal band. Similarly, but the opposite as well in many ways, the Thunderbird, it has a very deep, very big sound, but the problem there is that it can lack a bit of definition, sound a bit muddy, and of course you'll get lost in the mix if you have very heavy guitars to contend with. In terms of construction, both of these basses are neck through, so they both have construction where the neck goes through the body here. You'll see that in a moment on the Rickenbacker. They have very different headstock. So here the Thunderbird has very recognizable, identifiable inline tuner headstock, whereas the equally as identifiable headstock for the Rickenbacker is two-side with more traditional tuners there, open tuners, whereas here Gibson on the modern version have gone with lighter tuners as part of an effort to resolve issues with neck diving. So Thunderbirds have a reputation for being neck divers, which means that when you're playing, they are supposedly or they have a tendency to go down this way. But I just want to show you here that is absolutely not an issue on the modern version. So you can see both my hands here. I'm not cheating in any way, not tricking it. There is absolutely no neck dive on this Thunderbird. In terms of construction, so we've talked about the headstock and about the neck through. Traditionally, both of these basses would have come with pickup covers. Thunderbirds have dropped this for a long time. Rickenbacker still come with a pickup cover here, so that's one of the things I would remove as almost as the first thing when I get a Rickenbacker. And what I wanted to say as well, there's a couple of other modifications that I like to do. So for example, here I'm adding a bezel here that has a ridge. That can end up being a thumb rest. Add a dedicated thumb rest here, which is a zero mod as well, so that gives you a lot of options for searching for different tones, different feel on the bass depending on the song. On the Thunderbird, there is also a modification I like to do. None of these modifications on either base are necessary, but it's a preference. But for me, I would always replace the 3-point bridge with, in this case here, Babbage. You can use a hip shot as well. And this is just because in terms of setup, intonation, the 3-point bridge is just, in my opinion at least, not nice to work with. This one was actually bundled with, I think it was a 2018 version of a Thunderbird by Gibson. I've just put it on my 2013 here. Works a lot better. Some people argue that it also helps with sustain because the 3-point bridge is actually not stuck to the body, whereas this one is. Okay, so that's for construction. For electronics, I have first thing, both of them are passive basses, but they have very different pickups. So the Thunderbird has humbuckers, whereas the Rickenbacker has single coils. And in terms of control, actually, let me just take back the Gibson once more. It's very simple, very basic on the Gibson. You have a volume control for your neck pickup, a volume control for your bridge pickup, and an overall tone here. So not a great deal of options, whereas the Rickenbacker offers quite a lot more flexibility. So here you have, and it can be confusing at the start, you probably can't read what's on the button, but here it says treble tone and this one says bass tone. This is because the bridge pickup is referred to as the treble pickup, whereas the neck pickup is referred to as the bass pickup, and so you have a tone for each, where the tone for the treble pickup also has a push-pull. So if you pull it, you are using a vintage tone that's probably a lot more similar to the traditional 4001 models, whereas you push it in, you are essentially bypassing capacitor. You have a bit more bass, a little bit more modern sound. You have mutes there in the bridge, which you can raise with this. I've done a video specifically on that, so you can check it if you're interested. And last but not least, you have a pickup selector. So at the bottom, you're using only your treble pickup. At the top, you're using only your bridge pickup, your neck pickup, sorry. And in the middle position, you're using both of them. So there's quite a lot of flexibility here, quite a lot of options with controls. So we're going to do some samples now. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'll go on mute for the microphone and start playing. I'm going to go through each bass in turn, and I'm going to go through a certain number of tests. So I'm going to do some pickup voicing first. So I'm going to go front pickup with a tone on, tone off. I'm going to go back pickup with tone on, tone off. I'm also going to do the same test with both pickups on, as you might have guessed. Then I'll switch on my equalizer, which is a Darkglass B7K Ultra, and last I will switch on the distortion part of that Darkglass pedal. And to finish, we can hear the basses in the mix as well. So I'll do a quick play along of Cochise from Audioslave fingerstyle, and then I'll do a play along of a part of Go With The Flow from Queens of the Stone Age with a pick, so you have good samples of everything. So I'll go through that with a Thunderbird first, and then we'll do the same with Rick. I hope you don't get a big scratch in your ears when I'm plugging here. Maybe I should sneeze to hide the noise. I'm going to switch off the microphone.
Outside the frame is where we're leaving now. You won't remember anywhere. I can go with the flow. Don't say it doesn't matter. Matter anymore. I can go with the flow. You believe it in your head. It's